Hello everyone, this is part 5 of What If Naruto was born in the Uzumaki clan, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Akeno had only seen a handful times in her life when her two best friends were mad at each other. Usually, Nagato accepted whatever decisions or opinions Naruto had. And as long as Nagato didn't pester his friend on morals, Naruto was willing to bear with his friend's compassionate heart. But something had happened. Something big. She had never, ever seen Nagato glare as murderously at Naruto like he was doing right now. The three of them were currently waiting in Hanzo's throne room, waiting for Am's leader and his top advisors to make an appearance. She didn't know what Nagato had said to the powerful man, but it had at least convinced Hanzo to give them a chance to present their case. It was a miracle. Akeno couldn't help but be stunned by the fire and confidence she saw in Nagato right now. The submissive, naive boy she had known was slowly changing, and she had a guess as to who was behind this change. She had to admit, whatever Naruto was doing was turning Nagato into a fine man, and in time, a good leader. Naruto for his part was standing on the opposite side of the room. His back pressed to the pillar, the redhead's face was covered by his face mask. His hands safely tucked around his chest, the boy was simply uncaring regardless of the murderous looks Nagato was throwing his way. Akeno knew that if not for these important negotiations just around the corner, Nagato would have yelled at Naruto like there was no tomorrow. Just that pissed off he seemed. She herself didn't like the way in which Naruto had completed this mission, by keeping his closest friends in the dark about whatever his real reasons or plan was. It hurt, but Naruto was simply stubborn and usually had his way no matter what. The only thing stopping them from blasting out at their friend was the fact that they still trusted him and knew he had their best interests in heart. It was just his ways that were questionable. You did good. It was the first time she had heard him speak. She saw Naruto directly looking at Nagato as he finished saying those words. Despite her best efforts, Akeno couldn't hold back her surprised expression. It was rarely possible for anyone to live up to Naruto's standards except Naruto himself, and he barely praised anyone. So to see him honestly praising Nagato was quite a shock. And it seemed Nagato was stunned as well, judging from the boy's open mouth and trembling lips. Seeing his friend's expressions brought a small, sad smile on Naruto's face. I'm sorry for putting all of you through everything that has happened in the past few months. Rest assured, you won't have to bear it any longer, said Naruto quietly. Before either of his friends could question him on his statement, the doors to the chambers situated on the far side of the room opened. A group of people walked in, led by Salamander Hanzo himself. Nagato easily recognized the samurai commander and the beautiful blonde woman he had previously encountered in this group as well. Beside him, Akeno stifled a gasp as she laid eyes on Hanzo for the first time. Naruto was wearing his expressionless mask even as Hanzo walked past him, but not without sparing a mysterious glance at the boy. He silently smirked when Angel or Conan was also among the group. He had to admit the girl had a strange name, and despite their rough first meeting he respected her skills. He simply didn't care about the other people in the group, specifically the old man and old woman dressed in civilian clothes who were shooting him murderous glares. He also spotted a young boy nearly their age with spiky orange hair in the group. Both of them exchanged curious glances at each other before breaking contact. At least not everyone thinks that I'm a freak, thought Naruto sarcastically. He could just imagine Akeno's reaction if he said his thoughts out loud. But deep down he knew it was a fact. His powers were unnatural and twisted. They evoked something sinister in him that threatened to destroy everything he held dear. That was why he had to do this. His friends would never understand, but as long as they were safe and lived happily, he could go on living till his time came. To his credit, he actually smiled when Hanzo and his party settled in their seats and the leader of Am looked straight at him. I've already heard through Nagato's proposal of an alliance between Am and the Uzumaki, or what's left of them anyway, commented Hanzo, and was surprised when Naruto simply nodded. You know what advantage the Uzumaki can provide you. Despite Am's increased strength, your ninja are weak in comparison to those of the Great Five, said Naruto flatly. He heard Akeno and Nagato gasp behind him, and received several dark looks from many of Hanzo's supporters, particularly the civilian old pair. Hanzo leaned forward and gazed intently at him. Naruto for his part continued his defiant stare. I can pardon Nagato and the rest of your clan. But not you, said Hanzo flatly, as Konan and the orange-haired boy looked right at Naruto. Before Nagato or Akino could come to their friend's defense, something happened. Understandable. I planned this mission, none of my people knew exactly what they were getting into. I assume full responsibility, said Naruto truthfully, and raised his hand stopping Nagato from interfering. A stern glance at Akino also stopped her from speaking. As he turned around, he saw Hanzo giving him a surprised smile. I see, so you're the leader hiding in the shadow of Nagato? Asked Hanzo curiously, but the boy shook his head. I'm a soldier, nothing more. Nagato speaks for all of us, but each of us have a freedom to voice their opinions. That is just how we Uzumaki are, said Naruto boldly. You know I can actually kill all of you? Asked Hanzo darkly, making Mifune go stiff. Galatea and Konan looked uncomfortable, the orange-haired boy wanted to protest, while the civilian old pair seemed to agree with this move. Hanzo saw the Uzumaki boy start walking towards him. Galatea stepped forward but was stopped by Hanzo. He watched the boy climb the stairs and reach the throne on which Hanzo was seated. Beside him, his supporters were ready to jump to his defense, but Hanzo's eyes were fixed on this boy alone. The cold glare landing on Hanzo was enough to send shivers down the spines of his supporters. Before we perish, we will burn Am to the ground. I will personally slaughter as many of your people as I can, cripple your nation just before the greatest war of our world. You will destroy yourself and all your dreams. To destroy the Uzumaki will be the end of you. I swear it, promised Naruto murderously, his dark chakra beginning to spike dangerously, making the people around him tremble. Naruto didn't flinch even as every ninja around him placed their weapons around his entire body, ready to strike in a flash. Your clan is full of innocent children. If my people die, so will yours, said Hanzo darkly, and saw the boy's eyes soften just for a second before the defiance crept back in his eyes. I've already seen the worst of this world. Your empty threats do not scare me, Salamander Hanzo, said Naruto defiantly. Neither Nagato or Akino knew what was going on since Naruto's voice was barely above a whisper and their friend was standing far away from them. But judging from the weapons pointed at him and tense atmosphere, they could only imagine what havoc Naruto could be causing. It was these expectations that shocked them when Hanzo leaned back in his chair and smirked. I will give every Uzumaki a place in this nation. They all shall be given citizenship, provided they swear loyalty to Am and its leaders, said Hanzo seriously, loud enough for the remaining two Uzumaki in the room to hear. Naruto only shared a brief look with his friends before turning back to Hanzo, a distrustful expression appearing in his blue eyes. Other villages slaughtered my people because they were different, because of our knowledge. I swear if you even touch my people. Naruto was surprised when Hanzo got back on his feet, making his supporters step back to create space. The leader of Am looked directly into the young boy's eyes and the message was clear in those orbs. I am not those men. I am Hanzo, Salamander Hanzo. Naruto's relentless gaze stared deep into Hanzo's eyes. He didn't know why, but his gaze went towards Konan, who also surprisingly gave a small nod. He saw how equally surprised the girl was with her own actions. He saw Mifune looking at him neutrally. Galatea seemed skeptical but didn't say anything. The strange orange-haired boy gave a small smile, and the civilians were glaring at him even more hatefully. He looked at his friends again. Nagato gave a nod while Akino gave him a hopeful smile. He could see the emerging happiness in the gazes, the hope in their eyes. Then under these terms, the Uzumaki clan pledged themselves to Am. We shall abide by the laws of these lands, have faith in the government, accept the people of Am as countrymen, and fight to protect this nation from all enemies, foreign and domestic, promised Naruto. Hanzo gave a firm nod as his approval of the oath undertaken. And what about you? Asked Hanzo, taking Naruto by surprise as he raised his eyebrows at the man. What about me? Questioned Naruto. Konan felt her gaze intently fixed on the boy before her. It was hard to explain, but there was something about him that was different. Maybe it were his powers or his defiance to stand up to Salamander Hanzo so openly. It was fair to say that she had never seen someone like Naruto Uzumaki. Although, his name was downright annoying and a joke. Who the hell named their kid after fish cake? Your clan, your friends took the oath. Not you, said Hanzo seriously, making the boy smirk. While I appreciate the offer, I'll pass. Hanzo saw the shocked looks on the faces of the boy's friends, the anger in his own ninja's eyes for such an open rejection, yet Hanzo couldn't help but be surprised. Beside him, Mifune was shocked on seeing Hanzo smile faintly for the first time in a decade as he stared in the boy's eyes. The others didn't understand, but Mifune could feel what Hanzo felt as he watched this boy standing before him. Your qualities will be known to this world for a long time, Uzumaki Naruto. Conan couldn't help but gasp at the unexpected praise showered on this boy. What made this act even more bizarre was the fact that Hanzo rarely praised anyone, even her. And it made her heart clench a little. Just who was this Naruto Uzumaki that even Hanzo couldn't resist to praise? On the other side, Nagato and Akino were shocked by what happened next. Naruto bowed deeply before Hanzo, much to everyone's surprise. The boy didn't say any words to convey his request, but Hanzo understood regardless and gave him a confident nod. Naruto's eyes then shifted towards Conan, to see her staring at him. He could see so many emotions floating through her eyes, and surprised her when he gave her a nod as well. Without waiting for her response, he cast neutral looks towards the remaining Am people before starting his journey towards the doors. It was then that he saw the reaction of his friends. And despite being prepared for this, his heart clenched at the sight. Nagato's anger had vanished and he was looking at his friend with a new sense of panic. Naruto saw his friend already trying to think of various ways or reasons for making him stay. But it was Akino that made him feel sad, and maybe even guilty. He couldn't even look in her eyes and had to tear his gaze away or risk showing her his own emerging tears. He didn't want this, but this was the only way. Hanzo must have sensed his pain and reluctance, as the leader of Am called his friends, diverting their attention away from him. It gave him the needed time to reach the exit and go away. He had to go now. Naruto silently opened the medium-sized door in front of him, making a silent hissing sound as the metal parted to allow him passage. But instead of going inside the room, he remained at the doorstep. His eyes fixed on the form of the peaceful Uzumaki children sleeping soundly in their beds. The sight made his heart flutter, seeing them safe, comfortable made everything he had undergone in these past months worth it. Yet he couldn't help but feel guilty. Almost every child in this room had lost their parents, friends, or relatives because he failed in his task. He had failed in the task his Uzukage had so confidently assigned to him. He could still remember the faces of all his deceased clan members as they lay murdered in the lands of Fire Nation. Their terrified gazes always kept him awake at nights. He took a hesitant step forward, if only to say goodbye. But then he remembered who he was, and stopped himself. Unlike the compassionate Nagato or the friendly and cheerful Akino, he was the scary older brother. He had seen the wary and sometimes even terrified stares these children sent his ways, he understood their reasons. He really did, but deep down it hurt. And the worst part was that he knew they were right, being near him could only bring them pain, suffering and dangers which they weren't yet prepared for. And neither had he himself made any great efforts to get to know these children. For the simple reason of not knowing how, or having the time to do so despite his heart wanting it. A wistful smile came on his lips as he imagined the future his two friends would have with these children, and it made everything worth it. Closing his eyes, he took a deep breath. With one final glance towards the future of his clan, he smiled and slowly disappeared into the dark corridors with a small thought in his mind. All of you are the light of our clan, while I am nothing but darkness. I wonder, will you ever remember me? It was rare for Hanzo to take a break in the middle of important negotiations. He always believed in getting the job done, no matter what. Yet there was one person who could make him break that rule. Watching the confident girl standing before him satisfied him immensely. It was still hard to accept that a few years ago this simple girl was just another one of the countless war orphans of Am. And now years later, Conan was not only one of the strongest ninjas of this nation but was also his heir. In the path of fulfilling his dream of a peaceful world, Hanzo had long since given up the desire of having his own family someday. Not that he himself wanted it that much, since his dreams for change were far more important. Yet meeting this girl changed his life. There was something different in her that attracted Hanzo's attention. She had a fire in her that Hanzo wanted in Am's next leader. May I ask why you brought me here? Asked Hanzo, letting go of his strict nature for a change. His voice actually sounding much normal and welcoming, for he knew Conan never did anything without good reason and he had faith in her. First, I want to apologize for, began Conan, but was stopped when Hanzo raised his hand. There is no shame in losing to someone powerful than you. It would have been a real defeat had you not given it your all. Whatever mistake you made in battle will make you learn your shortcomings and help you grow as a shinobi. Always remember, Conan, there is no greater teacher for a person in this world than the person himself, explained Hanzo patiently, as the blue-haired girl lowered her gaze. I know, but I promised, said Conan silently, and a moment later she felt a strong hand being placed on her shoulder. Let me be the judge of whether you broke our promise or not. Understood, asked Hanzo patiently, yet his strong tone indicated that the discussion was over. Conan only nodded hesitantly in return. Is that all you wanted to discuss? Because if it is, then I should get back to the negotiations. Nagato and Akino are already stressed as it is with their comrade leaving. If not for my insistence to formulate our alliance officially, they would have long since went to do other things. But I need to solidify this treaty, now more than ever, emphasized Hanzo, earning a nod from her. That's actually what I wanted to talk about. There is a way we can secure Am's future and pacify those two. If this idea of mine works, then you may actually earn the full loyalty of the Uzumaki without the need of an oath, suggested Conan, making Hanzo smirk as he raised his eyebrows. What do you have in mind? Conan couldn't help but smirk. She would have her little payback. Nagato and Akino were frantically pacing across the long chambers of Salamander Hanzo. It had been nearly half an hour since their best friend had walked out of this room, walked out of their lives without so much as a backward glance. Each of them had heard Naruto express his opinion that he would never serve any other flag other than Azu. Back then they had believed that with time Naruto would have a change of heart, but they should have known how stubborn that boy was. I can't believe he would do this to us, said Akino devastatedly. Nagato was thankful that Hanzo's supporters had also left the room when their leader had walked out to take a break, or else it would have been quite difficult to negotiate such an important alliance when both of them were in such distressed states. What the hell is the idiot even going to do? Does he even have a plan? Where will he go? He keeps on blabbering about his grand plan, but he's so reckless, rash. She felt strong arms grab her shoulders and a moment later she felt herself being embraced comfortingly. Akino slumped in his arms, unable to control her tears as Nagato comforted her. I can't lose him. Nagato, whispered Akino, her voice trembled so much that it made his heart ache for the pain she was in right now. I won't let that happen, Akino, said Nagato fiercely. He broke the hug just a little, and cupped both of her cheeks in his hands, looking the distressed girl straight in the eye. Akino's tears stopped when she saw the determination in his eyes. As long as I live, you won't lose him. No matter what. I promise, pledged Nagato. Nagato. He didn't waver and gently caressed her cheek, making her calm down a little as he wiped her tears away. You must remember, Akino. He carries a lot of burden on his shoulders. His life wasn't normal like ours. I'm not making excuses for his behavior because I'm just as pissed off as you on his reckless antics, but all I'm trying to say is that I understand why he does these things, said Nagato sadly. I don't know how you do it, Nagato. I truly care about him, hell I even low, never mind. He drives me insane. How can you even understand him and not be pissed off at him for doing this to us? Asked Akino furiously, her hot temper flaring right up, and with good reason after the decision Naruto had made without even consulting them. In response, Nagato gave her a serene smile. Because he's my best friend. That stopped her. Akino stared at her friend's smiling form. The answer was so simple, yet she knew only a person like Nagato could say something like that and actually mean it with all his heart. Just that kind of a person he was, and it was Nagato's patience and understanding that had kept their team together over these harsh years. As Akino was lost in her own thoughts, Nagato didn't miss her near slip-up about her hidden feelings. It was not that he had not known about this fact, but it was the first time he had actually seen Akino nearly spill her own feelings about a certain rebel Uzumaki. He honestly didn't know what to think about it. All he knew was that he wanted the best for both his friends, and it was up to them to solve this issue. And unless they specifically asked for his help or advice in this matter, he was going to step aside and let the two of them handle it. And seeing that Akino had calmed down now, he decided to explain some things to her in the hopes that maybe she wouldn't drive Naruto insane in her anger when he came back. Akino, I think Naruto knows what he wants but doesn't know the exact way through which he can achieve it. Unlike us, he hasn't experienced a normal childhood and has stayed isolated for most of his life. He simply doesn't know how to behave around people, or even live with them. And that's why he pushes everyone away, said Nagato patiently. Why? Asked Akino in painful voice. For fear of being rejected, for being abandoned again. What his parents did to him, changed him. Akino bristled. Her dormant anger flared up again, both at Naruto and his parents. No matter what reason, they shouldn't have abandoned their son like this. It was worse than the fate of an orphan, but at the same time she could not be as understanding as Nagato. Yes, Naruto's life was harsh and cruel, but it was not enough reason for his unwillingness to adapt. Yes, he was bad at relationships. Then he had to work hard to build good ones. Staying away, pushing people away was easy and convenient, and Naruto would do just that to suit himself. Nagato had a soft corner for his best friend, always had and always will. So, it was up to her to make Naruto see his shortcomings. And it would start with both her and Nagato bringing him back. It wasn't going to be easy, and Naruto was definitely not going to like this. But they wouldn't give him a choice, she wouldn't give him a choice. You're done, Naruto Uzumaki, fumed Akino. As if even the heavens supported her desire, the door to the chamber opened and Hanzo walked back in alongside that smirking girl. Akino didn't know why, she felt an immense irritation build inside of her on seeing this girl. She knew Conan hadn't wronged her in any way, but she couldn't explain this jealousy. And judging from the cocky smirk on Conan's lips, Akino was sure that she was up to no good. What the hell is she up to? The rains of Am were said to be relentless and unending. He had never believed this fact, fully thinking it was impossible for any place to forever be haunted by rain, but now as he sat in the middle of one of Am's wastelands being continuously soaked in rainfall made him realize that the myth was true, and he had been wrong. It went to show there were so many things in this world he didn't know the truth about. He bit back the cold shiver his body threatened to let escape in such a frosty and harsh atmosphere. It had been 2 days since he left his friends and clan in Am's capital. To be honest, Naruto didn't know what to truly feel about his decision. On one hand, he knew tactically his decision was right since he could never let himself become Am's soldier. He simply couldn't betray the oath he had made to Razu and was hell-bent on following it till his last breath. Even if that had not been a problem, he had other dreams to fulfill now that his clan was safe. And he couldn't accomplish them if he was a registered ninja of Am, since any trouble he created would spell misfortune for this small nation and his own clan. And he couldn't let that happen. No matter what. Even so, a small part of him felt guilty for leaving his friends behind. He had never even waited to say a final goodbye. They were his home, the only family he had in this world. And as he sat alone in this wasteland, he couldn't blink back the tears that came in his eyes. He missed the friendly banter he had with Akino, the peaceful times with Nagato. He missed it all so much. The rain falling down on him made his tears invisible as he accepted the things he had lost in his life. Many due to the actions of others and a few due to his own decisions. He had already sent a message to Kisame asking the man for the latest update on the brewing war. And maybe in a day or two he would receive a reply from the Kiri ninja. Naruto desperately wished it came sooner as that would give him purpose. A new mission which will help him fulfill his desire for a peaceful world. If maybe someday he achieved his dream, then not only his friends but millions of innocent people could live happy lives. So that the tragedy of Uzumaki clan could not be repeated ever again. His eyes hardened as he thought about all those forces that were wreaking havoc across the world. The 5 great villages, or more specifically the military governments and the Hokages. The corrupted daimyos, the out-of-control Black Ops forces like the ones he had seen in Konoha, crazy monsters like Orochimaru. The list was endless. He felt the anger build inside of him as he thought about the atrocities he had witnessed in the past few months. The few plants around him withered away as his chakra flared dangerously. He would make them pay, all of them. His eyes widened momentarily as he felt several foul presences far away. The strange thing was that these energy imprints were foul and corrupted. He could feel the anger, the bloodlust, the madness inside these group of humans. Stunned, he increased his sensory range and his eyes widened as he felt the presence of nearly 100 civilians. A small village, perhaps, said Naruto out loud. He knew what was going to happen, he could feel it. The war had already started, and now it had reached Am. There was not just the ninja villages that were dangerous, but there were several other groups and organizations that were much worse. He took a step forward but came to halt quickly. This wasn't his job. The ninja would know about this attack soon enough, and it was their job to protect their people. He was already near the borders, and just a day or two journeys would get him out of this country. But if he did what his heart was urging him to do, it would only cause more problems for him. Naruto cursed out loud at this situation. He had no loyalty towards Am's citizens, he was not their soldier, not their protector. Yet he couldn't help but relive the night of his own clan's massacre. The helpless screams of his own people, the despair and panic as they were slaughtered. They didn't deserve that, and with a heavy heart he knew neither did Am's civilians. They were also humans. Let your darkness be your greatest strength rather than your worst enemy. He remembered his Uzukage's words to him during his training. Naruto hadn't understood the man back then, but now he knew what his leader wanted. And if there was one thing he did obediently was follow his Uzukage's wish. Katsuro-sama would not have walked away when innocent lives were in danger. And as his disciple, neither would Naruto. Terrified screams rang across the small village of Han. Named in the respect of the glorious leader, Hanzo, this village was just another one of the impoverished small villages of Am where poverty, sickness and unemployment existed openly. All in all, it had not a single special thing about it that made it worthy enough for such a vicious attack. Now, Han's grounds were stained with the crimson blood of several of its residents. The screams of terrified women and children could be heard everywhere, along with the moans of the dying men who were the first to be targeted and were being slaughtered one by one. Another sound was also heard across the village. Laughter. Cruel, vicious laughs escaped from the lips of the attackers. Dressed in dark black robes, their faces covered by skull masks, they were the epitome of monsters for the helpless people of Han. A strange serpent-like figure made up of green energy was floating over the village, making the civilians cower in horror. Take that, you bitch. Oh, I'm gonna enjoy this. This is the ultimate fun. Naruto stared at these disgusting creatures from afar. The animals were slaughtering everyone and everything that came in their way, be it man, woman or child. The sight of several little children lying butchered on the wet ground made his blood boil. The sight hit close to his heart as it reminded him of the slaughter of his own people. Their screams. And that was when his entire chakra flared murderously. I'm gonna kill all of you, roared Naruto. Dark chakra oozed from his body at alarming levels, the foul energy being released from his body spread in all directions. The slaughter stopped as the vicious attackers watched in horror as their powerful serpent-like symbol in the sky was swallowed whole by a dark demonic skull. The ground shook violently as something landed right in the center of the village, sending dust and debris sailing everywhere. The attackers had lost all interest in the civilians, and had quickly surrounded the person standing in the midst of this dust. They all took a step back, when they saw his eyes. Pure, red demonic eyes. Who is this guy? Asked one of the skull-masked men. Reinforcements, suggested another. Am's ninjas are weak as fuck. Let's show these weaklings the true power of our lord, howled a young gray-haired man. He brought forward his monstrous scythe and pointed it at the boy. His comrades also brought forward their long scythes stained with blood and grinned menacingly. So you believe in Kami? Asked the boy, his voice barely a whisper. Hell, yeah. Tell you what, brat, just die and be honored for becoming Jashin-sama's sacrifice, screeched the young gray-haired man again, his comrades howling in agreement. They all took a step back when the red-eyed boy gave them a maniacal smile. Then let me show you the power of Kami. Before any of them could retort back at the brat, dark tendrils of chakra shot forward, wrapping their entire group in its binds. Instead of being scared, all the men stared at the boy incredulously and laughed. We can't be killed by humans, yelled one of them proudly. We're immortal. I wouldn't be so sure about that, warned the boy. The tendrils danced wildly in the air, much to the surprise of the cowering civilians as they watched their attackers being slammed repeatedly against each other. Their painful screams brought some relief to the grief-struck people of Han, and they couldn't help but stare at this boy with newfound devotion and awe. The masked men who were butchering others were being butchered themselves, which made the boy smile darkly. Kill or be killed, that's the law of this world, said the boy. He stared at the civilians who were looking back at him devotedly, which only made him scowl. It's better to hurt others before they hurt you. Don't forget that, advised Naruto harshly, receiving fearful nods in return. He saw the group of men trying to slice apart the dark tendrils holding them captive with their sides, but their weapons simply passed through the chakra without granting them their freedom. The sight only made the young boy scowl. I'm not the one who's wrong, what's wrong is this fucked up world. Cursed Naruto. His chakra flared violently, and he threw the entire group of attackers hundreds of meters away, making them land straight outside the village. He smirked on hearing their painful screams, and rushed towards them. His heart thumped when he saw their terrified gazes as he approached towards them. You bastard! Naruto laughed when a few of them charged towards him. Eyes blazing with pure anger and murder blazing through their hearts. If only the fools knew. He simply pointed his finger towards them, and the very next second all of them stopped abruptly. Their comrades couldn't help but be more horrified, when their attacking comrades fell to their knees and started screaming painfully. Naruto saw the foul-mouthed, gray-haired young man staring at him with fear flashing through his eyes. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Before the man could save himself, dark chakra tendrils erupted from the ground beneath him, impaling him all over the body. One of the tendrils hovered around him menacingly before piercing one of his eyes, making him scream, while the boy laughed. What's your name? Asked Naruto curiously. Hidden. Before I squash all of you like the vermin you are. Tell me who sent you here. Asked Naruto sternly, his demonic red eyes making the group of men flinch. We are followers of Jashin-sama. We follow nobody. But our God. Kill in his name, said Hidden painfully, as the boy made the tendrils impaling his body churn mercilessly. Naruto sighed. Foolish humans. Still he couldn't help but be intrigued by the power of these men. All of them were sporting several fatal injuries all across their bodies, wounds that should have killed them long ago. Just the amount of blood they had lost should have been enough to take their lives, but they were still alive. He looked Hidden right in the eye and invaded the man's mind. Hidden howled in agony as the boy mercilessly tore through his mind, learning everything there was to know about him, their cult, their religion, their powers and the god. Hidden couldn't help but be horrified by the power of this boy. He was a true monster. A true god. After a few minutes Naruto broke the mental link with a strange look in his eyes. He saw the men cowering before him, and couldn't help but acknowledge that they were immortal to a certain extent. They could be killed, his dark chakra could destroy their bodies from the inside. But he couldn't help but feel a connection to the power they possessed. It was dark, twisted and violent just like his own power. While these Jashinists were nothing more than barbarians, their powers were not something he could simply toss aside in these times. Please, spare us. We won't attack anymore, pleaded Hidden, and the request was repeated by several of his cowering comrades. And why would I do that? Asked Naruto with a smirk. Hidden felt a cold chill run down his spine as he saw the ruthless gaze of the boy. He was really going to kill all of them, brutally. His eyes met the terrified gazes of his own comrades. They had seen it all. This was it. But Hidden couldn't help but feel something else. This boy was more powerful than his entire group, defeated them like little bugs despite the powers granted to them by Jashin-sama. Could he be Jashin? The demonic eyes, the bloodlust, the cruelty, the twisted laugh. Yes, he could be Jashin. He couldn't believe it. Their lord was standing before them and none of them hadn't even realized it. Oi, assholes. Naruto curiously watched as Hidden glanced at him for a moment before turning to face the terrified gazes of his cult. Naruto saw the look in Hidden's eyes before he started talking in the ancient language of their cult. Unknown to these men, Naruto had already learned the basics and could understand what Hidden was trying to say. Still, he was annoyed by the man's deceptive nature. He clenched his fists as the dark chakra tendrils around Hidden's body sliced off the man's arms completely. Hidden screamed. You bastard. Hidden stopped himself from cursing the boy, and just in time as the young boy gave him an ice-cold glare. You say something? Asked Naruto cruelly. Hidden bitterly shook his head. I don't like people who avoid me in any way. You understand me? Asked Naruto threateningly, making Hidden whimper. Yes, my lord. The Jashinists gasped in shock on seeing one of their own utter such blasphemy. Their furious looks landed on their comrade who looked right back at them. He's a god, you fools. Can't you feel his power? It's just like Jashin-sama, have you forgotten our scriptures? Yelled Hidden irritatedly. Naruto merely raised an eyebrow, intrigued by the event happening in front of him. He couldn't help but feel immense satisfaction for the havoc he was causing, and as the cult members looked in the boy's eyes, they saw the same madness, the same bloodlust, the anger only 1,000 times more. Their eyes widened as Hiden's words sinked in. The dark chakra. Their own powers were a result of the dark arts taught to their cult by the great Jashin. And here was this boy, a complete master of the dark arts who had squashed all of them like little bugs. They felt his aura, his power, it was unending. Ready to die? Asked Naruto finally, snapping the entire cult out of their shock. What? No. Don't kill us, said Hiden in a panicked voice. Why? Asked Naruto in a bored voice. We will fight. For. You. Die. For. You. Do. Anything. For. You. Said Hiden desperately, and Naruto saw the same reason prevailing in the eyes of the remaining cult members. Why? He asked again, and this time he couldn't help but be disgusted by the fanatic look in Hiden's eyes. Because your Jashin-sama reincarnated in the flesh. I never thought I would see this day, to witness your dark powers. Let us serve you, my lord, begged Hiden. Naruto raised his hand, making the entire cult hold their breath in fear. He had to use every ounce of his willpower for not slaughtering these vermins right here, they were monsters in human forms. He had seen the crimes they had committed, he had felt their evil desires, they were no longer human. But at the same time, he could see their usefulness. They were nothing more than cannon fodder to him, mere pawns but useful regardless. The cult members felt their masks break instantly as all of them were forced on their knees. They felt a strange euphoria as the dark tendrils vanished and the twisted energy engulfed their bodies. The power they felt was ecstatic. Naruto stepped forward and was not surprised when all of them bowed their heads to the ground. He performed several sets of complicated hand seals before pointing his hands towards the group of people. All of them hissed in pain when a small portion of the dark energy submerged inside their bodies. A large skull face tattoo emerged on their right arm, its eyes glowing demonically red for a moment before dying down. When they stared at Naruto, he saw the result of the little ritual he had performed. At least one eye of every cult member was now dark red, just like Naruto's. Hiden was in the process of regenerating his lost eye, and to his surprise the lost organ was replaced almost instantly. He stared at his lord in awe and bowed deeply before. Master, thank you for giving us your power, said Hiden madly, the others following him example. Naruto kept his expressions blank as he stared at these men. He had shared a part of his chakra with them, making their weak bodies a little stronger. It didn't increase their combat skills but made them a little strong enough to survive longer. But the most important thing was that each of them was now fanatically loyal to him, his will was their will. He had made sure of this fact by making himself appear as the avatar of Jashin in the minds of these crazy fighters. Rise, commanded Naruto. He felt immense satisfaction when his new pawns obeyed his command without hesitation. Each of them would still pay for their crimes, but after serving their usefulness to his cause. At least this way, these wretched humans would be using their twisted powers for a good cause. From today, you shall follow me. Together we shall strike this twisted world, declared Naruto. Yes, master, replied all of them gleefully. Obey me and I promise to reward you great battles and bloodshed. Fight for me, kill for me, do anything I say and you shall realize the reason for your existence, proclaimed Naruto. We will do all you ask, master, said Hiden fanatically. He had seen it with his own eyes. This boy was an avatar of Jashin and the vision he had shown them was enough to make all the cultists dance with joy. Oh, the havoc they would be causing. He was brought out of his crazy thoughts when Naruto gave all of them a dark glare. Loyalty will be rewarded. Treachery will only bring you a torturous death, promised Naruto, and raised his hand. All the men fell on their knees screaming in pain as the skull mark on their arms burned their skin, their bodies. Hiden stared at his master, realizing their leader had marked them all with his seal. It was a fuinjutsu none of them had ever seen before and only went to show how powerful their leader was. This mark is my connection to each of you. I'll issue my orders to all of you through them, instructed Naruto. Yes, master, we understand, replied Hiden gratefully, as their leader stopped the agonizing pain coursing through their bodies due to the mark. Naruto stared hard at each of them, looking right into their souls through their eyes. Only when he was sure of their unwavering loyalty, did he step back and spoke in a loud voice. Let our holy crusade begin, commanded Naruto. He couldn't help but smirk when his new followers howled eagerly. The feeling of loss vanished from his heart as he now had more resources to accomplish his vision, starting from now. Divide yourself in groups of 10, instructed Naruto. The men obeyed without question and divided themselves into 4 columns of 10 men each. Naruto walked amongst them, inspecting all of them. Tell me your names. The men were overjoyed when their master asked for the names. Their eager smiles only made Naruto smile at their foolishness. Goro, Haru, Isamu, Jun, Ken, Ko, Fumio, Keiji. It took a few minutes, but he patiently listened as the men revealed the names to him. He did his best to hide his disinterest, as he finished the mundane activity. These people were nothing but pawns to him, yet it was important for him to know them if he wanted to use them. Good. Jun, led Team 1. Your mission is to set up bases for our army. Find remote places for this task. I give you 3 months. Isamu, led Team 2. Your mission is to gather armor, weapons and arsenal for my followers. I don't care how you get them, you have 2 months. Ko, led Team 3. Your mission is to get me the money for our crusade. You will regularly report back to me with the progress you've made. And Hidden, led Team 4. Your mission is to gather information over the 5 great villages. You are free to kill any of their shinobi who get in your way and collect their bounties, send them to Ko afterwards. Understood? Asked Naruto seriously. Yes, master. I'll make many sacrifices in your glory, promised Hidden, as a chuckle escaped from his lips. Naruto maintained his cold, disinterested gaze at all of them. Failure will not be tolerated. Except for Hidden and his team, the rest of you are to carry out your missions without attracting any attention. If I find that you have disobeyed me in any manner, then I'll make your fate worse than death, promised Naruto, making all of them shiver a little in fear. Yes, master, replied all of them in unison. He waved his hand in a dismissing manner. Go and carry out my will across this world. Naruto couldn't help the sinister smile from appearing on his lips as his fanatical pawns dispersed quickly to carry out his orders. First Kisame, now these men. Slowly but surely he was moving forward to bring forth the revolution of his dreams. Despite his dark powers being the curse of his life, he couldn't help but feel that one day they would be the reason for a change in this world. He would be patient, and make his moves slowly. He would destroy his chosen enemies in a carefully laid trap like a serpent and strike them in a flash. With those thoughts in mind, he started his journey back towards the village of Han. There could still be civilians trapped beneath debris, children may be injured and he couldn't leave them in such a state. He would help them a little long enough for them to survive so that the ninja didn't arrive to a village half full of bodies. And then he would leave. Alas, his wish was not to be fulfilled as he stopped dead in his tracks. His demonic red eyes reverted back to their natural blue orbs. His dark chakra vanished as he came to a halt. His eyes widened in shock. For standing at the entrance of the village were none other than Nagato and Akeno, along with Konan. Naruto blinked. His shocked expression was easily visible to his best friends and Konan as they all stared at him with varied expressions in their eyes. Konan looked annoyed to say the least, Nagato was disappointed, and Akeno was. He only had a few precious seconds to bring forward his tanto as Akeno pounced on him. Her eyes screaming bloody murder. You bastard, yelled Akeno, making her own tanto clash with the surprised boy. Naruto saw sparks fly as their weapons made contact. What shocked him more was that Nagato made not a single move to stop their enraged female friend, while Konan was watching the duo with a bemused smile on her face. The bitch was enjoying his misery. He effectively blocked Akeno's non-lethal strikes as the Uzumaki girl yelled a wide variety of obscenities at him. Granted that he did deserve all of them for leaving without even saying goodbye, and silently accepted her anger because this time he had crossed a line. Besides, his Uzukage had warned him not to provoke the females of his clan when they were extremely furious. His momentary distraction costed him as she disarmed him with a quick strike, his tanto sliding out of his grip and rolling away from him. He saw her flinch as her tanto was now poking his chest, having already teared through his shirt. She instantly dropped the weapon, saving his skin from being sliced apart from the sharp tanto. Still, the unending anger in her eyes made him flinch and lower his gaze. He had nothing to say. He prepared himself for the inevitable punch or slap that would hit him any second. He simply remained still, ready to face the punishment for causing her pain. You reckless idiot. That was all he heard before someone fiercely hugged him. their soft arms wrapping themselves around his back and bringing him closer to their own soft body. His eyes snapped open when he smelled her scent, and realized she was hugging him. If that was not enough, the sound of her soft sobs broke his heart. She was crying, for someone like him. Why? He looked at Nagato and saw his friend exhale a sigh while shaking his head tiredly, and Conan was smiling at him. Not a mocking smile, but a genuine one. The sight of that smile combined with Akino's sobs, and Nagato's smirk made him tear up. He had missed them so much. If only for a few moments, he wanted time to stop. To be free from his burdens, to be free from his grand dream, to be free his pain and just live alongside his friends. Akino smiled tearfully when Naruto wrapped his own arms around her waist, pulling her even more closer. She felt him bury his face in the side of her neck, her long silver hair brushing against his own wet tears. She couldn't help but be shocked. He was crying. She had only expected to see his cold gaze, his strong orders to leave him alone, but never had she imagined him becoming so emotional on seeing her and Nagato. It was then Nagato's words came back to her. He cares about you, Akino. More than you could ever imagine. A small smile came on her lips as her tears stopped. She was still extremely mad at him, but felt contented in holding him in her arms. It had just been 2 days since their separation, but for her it was as if years had passed. Just that attached she was to him and Nagato. Her happy moment didn't last when a light cough broke the silence. From the corner of her eye, she saw Conan giving him a curious gaze, making Akino grit her teeth as she felt Naruto slowly break the hug, ending the warm sensation between them. She saw Naruto's guarded expression return as he cautiously observed the kunoichi. If you two are done snogging each other, there are much more important tasks to finish, said Conan bemusedly. Her tone, while being sarcastic, was not insulting, but it still made Akino give her a murderous glare which the girl blatantly ignored. Naruto awkwardly stared at Nagato for some help, but found his friend looking the other way, quietly whistling to himself. Bastard. Gathering his thoughts, he looked back at Conan with a serious gaze which made the girl drop her smile and adopt a similar look of her own. How did you find me? Asked Naruto neutrally. We were following your trail, although it was not as easy task I had imagined in the beginning. We received a distress call forwarded to us from headquarters indicating an imminent attack on this village. Finding you here was a surprise, admitted Conan frankly, and smirked when Naruto cursed silently. Damn my saving people thing, muttered Naruto silently, making Akino smile. The very next moment Naruto was grabbed firmly by his shoulders and came face to face with a furious Akino who started shaking him like a rag doll, shouting at him continuously. Despite this, Naruto couldn't help but smile. Akino would be Akino no matter what, that was what he lo. He abruptly stopped himself. The bizarre thought that had passed his mind momentarily was enough to startle him. He looked at the beautiful girl shouting at him in the same concerned voice he had known for years. And for the first time he noticed something different. The way her cheeks flushed red as she vented at him, the way that annoying strand of silver hair fell over her face urging him to put it back, the way her soft lips. Stop, stop. This is Akino, just stop, he berated himself internally. Even as he tried to stop these frustrating chain of thoughts, he couldn't deny the fact that he had missed her dearly. Even if they had just been apart for 2 days, he had missed Nagato as well, but not in the way he had missed her. He had longed for her smile, for her sarcastic remarks, for her admirable ability of listening to almost anything he had to say, and so much more. His hands betrayed him as they slowly started lifting up with the desire to touch her cheek in order to feel she was real and not an illusion. But they stopped mid-away as his actions with the cult and his plans came flooding back to him. Nagato had been watching his male best friend keenly, and couldn't help but sigh when Naruto's hands dropped back. Akino was so busy yelling at him that the girl completely missed the bizarre reaction from Naruto. It was almost. Darkness and light can't coexist together, Akino. One day you'll realize it too, thought Naruto with a resigned sigh. His internal battle with himself must have lasted longer than he had thought, as Akino had now stopped shouting and was now panting harshly in order to regain her breath. Did you even listen to a single thing I said? Asked Akino pointedly, her sharp gaze boring into his soul. Yes, he lied easily. What do you have to say in return? Asked Akino, ignoring his blatant lie. Nothing. Akino's nostrils flared at his careless answer, but before she could get back at him he simply brushed past her and went straight towards Conan. She remained standing in her spot, her eyes fixed on him as he offered Conan his hand, which the girl promptly shook. Uzumaki Naruto, I believe introductions were left unattended in our last encounter, said Naruto calmly, earning a nod from her. Conan, and likewise. It's quite interesting to meet someone with your talents, replied Conan coolly. She hadn't missed the boy's deliberate dismissal of his concerned female best friend. Granted, Akeno could have been a little calmer, but Conan was not very impressed with Naruto's actions towards his own friend. The fact that he did it deliberately got on her nerves. I'd like you to take my friends back to the capital, said Naruto directly. First tell me what happened to the bandits, asked Conan pointedly. Oh, is that how it is? Well, then better for me, thought Naruto bemusedly, happy to agree with her belief of the attackers being mere bandits rather than a cult of immortal fighters. I chased them off, replied Naruto flatly. You didn't kill them, asked Conan suspiciously. She may not have known him for long, but she doubted he was the type of ninja who took prisoners. And judging from the shocked look on his friends' faces proved her doubts. This boy never took prisoners, and yet he had simply chased off the attackers instead of killing them. I don't want to stain my hands with trash, said Naruto distastefully. To end this discussion, he gave Conan and his own friends challenging stares, daring them to oppose his testimony. And couldn't help but smirk when his friends relented and gave a small nod to Conan, making the girl sigh. Although, just one look in the girl's eyes was enough to show she didn't believe him or his friends. I get the feeling you're not the type of person who'll follow an unknown boy for 2 days without a strong reason, suggested Naruto cryptically, earning another smirk from the girl. I don't know, maybe I was bored, shrugged Conan, making Nagato chuckle, which directly earned him a dark glare from Naruto. Get to the point, Conan, hissed Naruto. She paused. His voice was cold and fully conveyed his irritated feelings towards her. Yet it was also the first time she had heard him say her name, and it felt strange to say the least. She had a few guesses as to what this boy could be up to. Unlike his friends, she didn't believe he chased off the bandits. But for the moment, there were more important matters at hand, and he did save her people, so she could let it go just this once. Steeling herself and gathering every ounce of confidence and willpower in her heart, she looked the redhead boy straight in the eye. I have a proposal for you, Uzumaki Naruto. There was a curt knock at the door. With a heavy sigh, Kushina Uzumaki marched towards the entrance of her apartment. But when she opened the door, she was rooted to her spot. For there, standing in front of her, was the former love of her life, the father of her son, and the man who was once the center of her universe. It still startled her heart on seeing Minato look at her with the same compassionate and loving gaze today, even after everything that had happened between them. Can I come in? Asked Minato politely. Her initial shock wore off, and her gaze turned cold as she icily glared back at him. Minato was stunned as he realized from where his son gained the stone-cold gaze. No. He concealed the hurt and disappointment he felt on hearing her bitter answer. Every day it broke his heart to see her like this, to see her get further and further away from him. No matter what he did, no matter how much he tried. She saw him swallow heavily, as he rummaged through his pockets searching for something. After a few moments, he let out a small envelope and presented it to her. I don't want it, said Kushina flatly. Kushina. How many times do I have to tell you, it's over? You can stop pretending, snarled Kushina, and this time she didn't miss his heartbroken gaze, which made her stop. Damn his blue eyes. No. You. Can, never forgive me. But before I leave, I wanted to give you this, said Minato hesitantly. Leave? Asked Kushina, a frown marring her beautiful face as a wistful smile arrived on his face. For war. She froze. The anger and bitterness vanished and was replaced by a sudden fear and anxiety. She searched his eyes for any signs of deception but only found the truth. He was truly going to war. Obito is going as well. If Minato's departure was not enough, the last information crushed her. It was not right. Obi was so young and he didn't deserve the horrors of war. Nobody deserved that, not even Minato. She wanted to argue, but knew that almost every able ninja was being sent to war. Since she was the Jinchuriki, she had to remain behind for the protection of the village, and only in dire circumstances would she be sent to the battlefield. It was infuriating to watch all her loved ones take all these risks while she. I know I haven't always lived up to your expectations, Kushina. But I've always wished the best for you, I still do. That's why I want you to take this, so that at least when I die. Kushina felt her heart constrict tightly in her chest on hearing those dreadful words, yet he simply smiled. I'll know that I at least kept our promise. She shut her eyes, unable to stop the tears from emerging in her eyes. The lump in her throat was so heavy, her heart had almost stopped as she remembered everything. I'll always love you, Kushina. Shocked, she immediately opened her tearful eyes, unable to believe what he had just said. But all that was left was the soft breeze marking his departure, along with the lone tear that had fallen from Minato's own eye. Heartbroken, she shifted her gaze towards the envelope he had given her. She slowly opened the envelope and let out the contents, and it made her heart stop. Right in front of her were nearly a dozen photographs of her dear son. Kushina's trembling fingers brushed through the image of that small child, her child. To see even this artificial image of him gave her peace, it gave her a part of her son. Looking through all of them, she realized they were of Naruto at different ages, and with a few people his age. Possibly his classmates or teammates. It made her heart swell. That idiot. She couldn't believe it. The only way for Minato to even have such photographs of their little son would be if he watched their boy from afar, if only for a few minutes. It was impossible for her to leave Konoha without sending the entire village in a dire frenzy. The Hokage had placed a seal on her that constantly showed the old man about her whereabouts. And even in a zoo, there were detection seals that would have detected Minato's presence. Yet the blonde-haired father had risked everything just to see their son, to see that he was safe. To watch him grow, if only for a few possible moments, before being forced to walk away. She felt her anger rise at him for keeping this secret for her. But deep down, she knew if he had revealed that he was secretly visiting a zoo if only for a few minutes, then she would have demanded he let her accompany him. And that would have destroyed everything. And yet now, he had given her all these precious memories about their son. She felt a small wistful smile appear on her lips, maybe the boy whom she had once loved still loved somewhere deep inside. It relieved her to see Minato's dedication and love for his son, and his own unending love towards her even till this day and after everything that had happened in their lives. Minato Namikaze, you crazy bastard, thought Kushina emotionally, clenching her fist close to her heart while holding the photographs tightly in her other hand. But now if he had given this to her, risked showing his violation of the treaty between Izu and Konoha, it could only mean Minato didn't think he was coming back alive. And for the first time in years, Kushina couldn't imagine her life without Minato. She ran. Conan stared hard at the boy sitting in front of her. After they had made sure that the villages of Han were safe, and healed those who were injured, she had decided to explain her proposal, and Naruto had been patient enough to agree with her request. She had to admit Akeno was quite a talented medic and had demonstrated her skills by quickly healing even the gravest wounds. While Nagato was slowly setting up protection seals around the village and helping the rescue teams search the area for any further enemy forces. With him at the front, it was confirmed that Han would not be so easily attacked next time. Hanzo had been right. These Uzumaki, while being a wild bunch, were sure talented enough, and she could easily see how well their addition would be in a growing nation like Am. So now here she stood in a small house of one of Han's residents with possibly the strongest Uzumaki she had ever seen. She was intrigued on seeing his twinkling eyes staring back at her with mild amusement. Naruto Uzumaki was an asshole, there was no doubt about it in her mind. But there was also another side to the boy, one which he rarely showed to a selected few. Well, talk, commanded Naruto, finally losing his patience, making her smirk. You have interesting powers, lethal but useful. We could use a ninja of your talents, proposed Conan, making the boy frown as he stared back at her. I already said it clearly, I won't swear loyalty to any nation or leader. I am a Zoo's soldier, and will remain so till my last breath, said Naruto defiantly. Galatea was right. His pride is what sets him apart from others, but it is also his weakness, thought Conan secretly. Then let me rephrase it. We don't want you to become an Am shinobi, nor swear loyalty to Hanzo or our nation. But you are loyal to your clan, and with a world war at our doorstep, Am is just not prepared enough to face the dangers. That is why we need your services, explained Conan neutrally, and was relieved when his frown disappeared and he raised an eyebrow in curiosity. A mercenary. What makes you think I'm a thug for hire? Mocked Naruto, an amused smile arriving on his face. Even the bastard's eyes twinkled a little as he stared back at her. Conan took a deep breath, he was a difficult person to deal with, but she would not fail. No matter what. Not as a mercenary, but as a protector of the Uzumaki clan. You have seen our shinobi and their skill level. Despite the talents of your friends, Am does not have the numbers or skills to oppose any of the Great Five from attacking our lands or using Am as their battlefield. If that happens, neither my people or your friends and the Uzumaki children can live peacefully, so I want you to be a guardian. Conan knew right there she had struck his heart. She could see it. His previous mocking smile disappeared, his bemused gaze turned to one that was extremely gentle and full of affection as he thought about his people. Conan couldn't help but smile. No matter how much of an asshole he was, she couldn't deny the fact that perhaps there was no one else in this world who cared more about the Uzumaki than this boy. His loyalty and faith in his own beliefs made him admirable for her. His skills were just another added bonus. We don't need your loyalty, or for you to become our ninja. You are free to go wherever you like and do whatever you want as long as it doesn't harm Am or its people, but I'm sure you won't do any such thing now that the Uzumaki are our people as well, said Conan softly. He looked at her with mild surprise as she called the Uzumaki her own people. She herself was no more surprised than him, and it showed in her eyes. She was quite stunned when he relaxed in his chair and gave her a patient smile, which made her heart churn with an emotion she couldn't identify. What do you want exactly? Asked Naruto silently. He's not an unreasonable person, it seems. Just a little stubborn, thought Conan happily. Hanzo-sama is forming a special group of ninjas. These men and women will play a vital role in protecting Am from all external strikes from any ninja village, even the Great Five. It's an elite group that will work in small teams. Akeno and Nagato have already agreed to be a part of it, explained Conan enthusiastically, and saw him nodding approvingly of his friend's choices. Are you a member as well? Asked Naruto. Yes, she replied proudly. He remained silent for the next few minutes, making her a little nervous and anxious. She had placed her cards in front of him, but it was quite difficult to predict Naruto Uzumaki. So you want my services till this war ends? Asked Naruto after a pause. Yes, we'll notify you when there is a mission. Until then, you are free to stay with us or do your own tasks. You will be a member of the Uzumaki clan and not an Am shinobi. We will also provide you a handsome compensation for your services, along with a house to stay in Am and cover all your expenses until you are a part of this group, offered Conan enthusiastically. She took a breath to regain her composure. Her excitement for this new group of ninjas made her explain the details quickly and proudly. While it was good, she needed to be patient and precise to explain the main part. And we can help you learn how to control your dark power. What? Hissed Naruto, making her flinch on seeing the ferocity return in those eyes. It seemed he was as cautious about his powers as those around him. Galatea, my teacher has a unique set of skills that allows her to manipulate another person's chakra. I also have that talent. That was why you weren't able to hit me so easily with your dark attacks. You didn't miss your target, rather I made your attacks miss me, said Conan frankly. I don't believe you, said Naruto flatly, it was simply impossible. While there were many kind of shinobi with unique Kekai Genkai, he had hardly come across or even heard of any ninja having the power to control or even manipulate another ninja's chakra. Conan was looking at him challengingly, so he instantly charged a small amount of his dark power. A small dark-colored ball made up of dark chakra formed in his hand. It was energy manipulation at its finest due to his nearly perfect chakra control. Without hesitation, he threw it straight at the now smirking girl. He nearly panicked when Conan remained seated in her chair and allowed the attack to reach merely 2 inches away from her face. Then suddenly the dark ball of chakra simply passed from her side without even touching her at all. Before Naruto could relax, she sent the attack right back at him, making his eyes go wide. He brought his hand forward to defend himself, but she simply stopped the ball of chakra and Naruto quickly re-consumed that energy. Proof enough? Asked Conan with a smirk. He just stared at her dumbly. Now he understood how she was able to match him, how she was able to control those thousands of paper attacks, and even fly with her paper wings. Till this date, only the Chushikage, who was a great warrior, had mastered the ability to fly. And here was this girl able to complete the same feat at such a young age. You're talented, said Naruto respectfully, as she playfully rolled her eyes at him. Thank you, Captain Obvious, said Conan cheerfully, and somehow it made him smile a little. Look, I understand that you have your own plans and are a proud Uzumaki. But we need your help, and we won't stop you from pursuing your dreams and even help you as far as possible. Hanzo-sama respects you, and if you agree to this proposal, then you can visit your friends, your clan, even stay with them whenever you want, said Conan genuinely, as he raised an eyebrow. Or I can just sneak in and meet them, challenged Naruto. Yeah, and get them in legal trouble for allowing a non-citizen ninja to roam around our lands knowingly? Asked Conan, making him lose his smile instantly. I see. What shall it be, Naruto? He became silent. The offer was quite fair, to say the least. He knew despite Conan's carefully chosen words he would be indirectly protecting Am from other villages, but as long as it led to the protection of his friends he wouldn't mind. And he was the one who had ignited war between Konoha and Suna, and couldn't bear to live if those two great villages chose Am as their battlefield or attacked this small nation for no good reason. He also needed time to set up the Akatsuki. It was his own personal group which he would use to bring forth a revolution in this world. But it would take time, and he simply had nowhere else to go. He would rather die than spend any more time with the cult members than necessary. Their foul souls made him want to kill them, but he would use them first before ending their miserable existence. Plus, he could help Nagato and ward off Am from the rest of the world with their knowledge in sealing and barriers. And most of all, he would be able to spend just a little more time with his friends. With Akeno, with Nagato, with the Uzumaki children. He didn't know why, but that thought brought peace to his troubled heart. The fact that he was free to sneak out of Am for his other missions was a much-needed bonus. Plus, he could use Am as his secret hideout without putting his friends in trouble, not to mention the resources he would receive along with Hanzo's trust. His gaze shifted towards Conan, who was smiling at him. The girl was strange and intrigued him. The fact that she could match his powers to a certain degree was threatening and peaceful at the same time. His worst fear was of losing control of his dark powers and doing something he would regret later, but if she could help him control it. It was nearly impossible and he didn't have much hope, but if somehow he gained control over his powers with Conan and Galatia's help. And when this storm of war passed, when he was sure his friends were safe, when Am was completely protected, he could leave in peace. Conan couldn't help but stare tentatively when he took a deep breath and closed his eyes, and a smile broke across her beautiful face when he nodded in acceptance while asking something. What is this group called? Asked Naruto curiously, and the grin on the girl's face was so infectious that it made him relax a little. Domino Squad. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.